Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at a card game all about pulling together and building a beautiful kimono in, appropriately enough, kimono. This is a set collection card game in which you are going to be drafting cards from the table, putting them into your hand, not changing the order of those cards, you're not allowed to, and then playing sets from your hand, playing melt in front of you to score various points. You want sometimes the same color of fabric, so the same number. Sometimes you're looking for a motif, so you want cards that have a floral pattern, and all sorts of different combinations like that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how this works on the table in just a sec. I do want to mention this kimono, this edition from Superlude here, is a reprint, a 2017 reprint of a 2014 game called Colors of Kasane. I believe that's what it's called. And that one is the same game. This is all just a new printing of the game, new artwork, and this is a French edition, okay? So just want to point that out. If you know that game, Colors of Kasane, then this is the same game. If not, no biggie. Let's take a look at this one. I'm going to tell you what I think of it on the other side of the overview. Here we go. Here we've got the game set up for 3 players. This display is going to change based on the number of players, but everybody's basically going to take a character. They're going to take all of the buttons that match that character. One of them will flip the card over to show this symbol, denote they're their star player. And then we lay out the board over here that is going to help us with the scoring. This, by the way, is the cover of the game, which is magnetic and just folds out like this, so you can put the buttons on it and score. I do wish it would lay a little bit flatter, but it's not a big deal, really. So, we've got our star player here, and we are trying to take cards and then meld combinations in front of us, place sets in front of us in order to score points based on these different combinations. This might look like a lot, but it's actually very easy. So, on your turn, you can take one of the cards that is at the end of one of the 3 lines here, and you put that in your hand. As you are taking cards in this game, you must make sure that you do not shuffle your hand. So if this is the first card that this character takes, and the next card, their next turn, is this one, they have to make sure that it goes after it like so, and you cannot shuffle this around. So once you've taken a card, you are then going to optionally play a set of cards in front of you and score some points. You don't have to do that, but you want to try to make victory points, of course. Let's talk about these sets, and I'll reference the cards as I go. You'll notice every card has basically 3 pieces of information. 4, really. There is the number, which also ties to, well, the fabric. That's the type, okay? You've got the motif, which is this sort of animal motif or the floral motif. And then below that, there's one other symbol there, which ties to some of these scorings over here. So let's talk about that. These 3 are the same, one for each of those symbols. And they are, if you play a group of 3 cards that are different cards, but all show that symbol, you are going to get 4 points if you do it first. And so you would mark this like so. And then if you do it after this one's taken, 3 points. Over here we've got for the motifs these 2, and they are, if you play cards that all show that, you are going to get a number of points based on how many cards you've played. And let me give you an example here. As I'm right there, I'm going to just grab some cards from the deck and show you what I'm talking about. So let's say this player here has taken, let's find ourselves some cards here. They've done that one, and they've done that one, and gosh, they took, let's see here, let's give them that one as well. So these are the cards they had, like so, and they just took this one, and then they choose to make a meld. They play that to the right of their card, like so. They played 3 of these, and they are going to score that. Now, when it's their next turn, they will have to take one of these. So let's say they take this one, okay? If they want to, they can play this right now and score for the floral motif because you can always use the previous last card played. So if they play this one over here, they can count this as having 2 floral motif cards being played, and they could score for 2 cards a single point and mark that one right there. Okay, this one over here is for like cards. So again, coming back to this, if they have, if they play more 6s after this, or a couple of 5s after this, like so, then they could score, 2 cards being 2 points. Over here, we've got cards that you will play ascending or descending between 5 and 1, and then the same thing between 5 and 9. What this means is, as long as the cards are being played, they're all different, okay? So you could play 2, 3, 4, and they follow the general trend. It doesn't matter if numbers are missing. You could do 2, 4, 5, and that still counts for this one. If you do all 5, it's a whole lot of points, but if you do 3, that's 3 points. Same thing up here. And then down here is for at least 2 cards, but you can play as many as you want, that equal 10. So again, after that one, I could have played then this after that 6 and say, okay, that equals 10. I did it with 2 cards, okay? So it's 1 point. If I do it across 3 cards, then it's 2 points. So it's 2 or a third card that equals 10. And once again, you're allowed to use the previous one you played there. These cards are souvenirs, or they are accessories rather, and you can play them. When you draft these from the table, you can simply play that. They're not going to go into your hand. They go right to your display opposite from your lineup, and they're worth a single point at the end of the game. Now, other than that, you now have seen all the different kinds of scoring at the end of the game, which is once every player has taken 4 cards, in this case with 3 players. They are going to discard the leftover 3. We refill the display. We keep going. And there are 3 rounds of this drafting. Every player gets 12 cards. If you played all 12, you're going to get a bonus 2 points. And then you're also going to get a bonus here based on the fabrics in front of you. You want, ideally, a lot of uniformity or a lot of variety. Okay, if you have a single type of fabric in front of you, you're going to get 5 points for that. If you have all 9, because the numbers go 1 through 9, then you're going to get 5 points for that. But right in the middle, at 5 different fabrics, that's worthless, okay? It's very common. It's easy to get right in the middle. So this player right now, I have 1, 2, 3. That's a repeat. 4 different kinds. That's worth 2 points. And so I might as well try to get a lot of different ones. Of course, if I'm doing this, then I'm not, doing these. Actually, if I'm doing this, I am doing this. But if I'm doing this, I'm not doing this. And I might not be doing some of these. So you have to balance what it is you want to do. All right? But that's basically how the game works. This setup is going to vary a little bit based on the number of players. But it's basically the same thing. I do want to point out one final thing, and that is that in some of these spaces, the ones in the middle, generally, the buttons, which are really neat, are kind of big for how close together these spaces are. So if this person takes 3 cards with the animal motif, get 2 points for that, then you can see it kind of obscures the 2 next to it. So if the player takes the 4, you're going to have to sort of do that they're a little close. They're a little tight. I've actually replaced the buttons myself with some tokens here that look like this. Little wooden bits. Just to make it a little bit easier to see what's going on. Unfortunately, I hate missing the patterns that are printed on them because they look neat. But this is, they should have been a little smaller, in my opinion, these buttons. But there you go. That's going to do it for this one. Let's go back up top. Let me tell you what I think of the game. So that is Kimono. Let's talk about it. All right, I'm going to start right at the top. Theme. I think it is lovely. It's beautiful theme, captivating, enjoyable. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people. It is a lovely, warm, welcoming theme. I like that you can, for the most part, use the theme to teach when it comes to fabrics, when it comes to motifs, when it comes to all of that stuff, right? Accessories. So I like that. I think this works well. And I really like the characters in here and the illustrations. I think they're lovely. Speaking of that, aesthetics. Very attractive artwork, very attractively made cards. The box is sort of strange. It's this magnetic thing, right? So you've got the, this opens up. This becomes the big board on which you score. You've then got, so that's the board. That's why it doesn't quite lay flat, which is a little annoying. You got the rule book. This is only in French, but you can get English rules online if you want. The cards, and then a little baggie which holds the buttons right here. The buttons are big for the spots. It's not the end of the world. It's not a particularly big deal. But, yeah, it can be a little annoying. I do wish they were a little smaller, but they look great. And they're printed, like screen printed, to tie to what the character you're playing is kind of wearing, like a pattern that shows up behind them, right? So I think the production is very nice. You do want to be careful how you store this, because it's possible, as you can see there, it's possible that when you have this like that, if you store it standing up, cards will slip out in between this magnetic sort of lining and the box that lives within it, okay? So it's possible they'll slip in between there. So just store it flat, okay? So there you go. Replay value. It's okay. I think the game is better with fewer players, okay? 3's good. 2 is lovely. 4, then you start getting into something I'm going to talk about in just a second, which is the game arc, which is frustration. Okay, so I think the replay value ultimately is okay. It's not bad. You can certainly come back to this one, try different things, and adjusting to what's going on in the game is a big part of what the game's all about. But I wouldn't say it has a whole lot of branching paths necessarily. Game arc, frustration. Let's talk about that. This is a game which puts a solid amount, quite a few sort of limitations on you as to what you can do and how you do it. You can only take one of the available cards. So 3 cards there you can draft. They have to go at the end of your hand. So that's a limitation. When you play from your hand, you have to play from the back. So if you draft a card and you intend to use it in a pattern, like if you're working on a pattern, you need to do it now. Because if you want to grow that pattern, the very next card better match that pattern. Or you've broken it, okay? So you add 4 players into the game, it's much harder to predict if a card is going to be there available to you when your turn comes around. That's what I'm talking about. And this game certainly can lead to frustration. Be aware of that. It's also short. It's like 25 minutes, so it's not a big deal. But this is a game that's going to appeal to people that like the feeling in a game of having to hop from one foot to the other a lot. And if you get stuck, that's not going to annoy you. Because frustration is one thing, but I think this game could, for many people, push that into from frustration to just straight up annoyance. So be aware of it. That's why I think the game arc is just too it's just too frail, it's too fragile. There's too many restrictions, and yes, it can lead to. Look, the game sometimes like sings, right? You take a big risk with something you know you could play now, but you're waiting and it works out. It's a beautiful feeling. You get your 12 cards out, you're like, bam, bam, bam. It just scored a bunch of stuff. That's wonderful, and that does happen. But you can also, you know, if the other 3 players at the table draft differently, you could also have a very rough time. Okay, ease of play. It's very good, very smooth. Take a card, play. The board is nicely laid out to show you what the different things mean. So that all works out really well. The tactics, luck, and strategy in the game, I also think are pretty good. Again, I'll refer you back to my comment about hopping from one foot to the other. That's a big part of it, okay? You need to be someone who has a plan, certainly. You start drafting and you're going, okay, I think I want to try to go for collecting this type of thing. But you need to be very flexible in this game because you will have to adjust your plan you're going to be changing your mind. It's like, okay, well, that's gone, so I guess I could take a 4. I'm holding a 6. That's 10. Do I do that? Okay. No, there's another animal print. So I'll do that, and I'll hope and wait. And then that doesn't work out, and you're like, okay, well, the animal print one I took was a 7, so there's a 3. I'll do the 10 now. Boom. That. You have to adjust. You will. That's not bad. I enjoy that in games, but you need to know going in that you like that sort of a game that's sort of, you're playing goalie with it. You're kind of like having to herd the game in some ways to do what you want it to do, okay? The luck is fine. There's luck, absolutely. But the display is set at the beginning of the round, each of the 3 rounds. So you see what's going on. The other players will take stuff you want, certainly. I think it's a good balance of those things. It's just a specific sort of feeling that some players might not enjoy. Ultimately, the game feels a little slight, and I mean by that, not particularly fulfilling sometimes, and it is that frustration. Then those two things coupled keep it from being a fantastic filler. I think it's a pretty good filler. I enjoy it. I think this look and this edition absolutely does not hurt, and it's not one I'm planning to get rid of anytime soon, because I just love the look and the theme. If I want to play something that's a little off the beaten path, this is a lovely game for that, okay? So there you go. That is Kimono. For me, this is going to get a 6.5 out of 10. It's not quite a 7, but it's a little better than a 6 for me. And if you understand math, then 6.5 is between those two things. So there you go. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for me. This has been Kimono. My name is Zee Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.